What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about lowering springs and coilovers, comparing the two to figure out which one's going to be right for you and for me, because I am in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do. I kind of have an idea what I'm planning on going with, just because what I'm going to be doing with the car, not just lowering it. So before we get started, I just want to say a few things. If you have lowering springs and or coilovers, please comment down below what your brand of choice is, how you've enjoyed them, pros and cons, because I'm hoping that this video will be a guide in the right direction for someone who's looking to either do coilovers or lowering springs and they're not really sure what they want to do. And I'm hoping that they'll be able to watch this video, go down into the comments, and kind of get a better judgment on what they want to go with, because there are differences in both, pros and cons with both as well. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. And if you're wanting to follow along, hit the little bell icon beside the subscribe button. That way, anytime I post, you get a notification saying, hey, Drop Top Productions posted another video, and go check that video out. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Alright, so if this is your first time ever being on my channel, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I have a 2012 Dodge RT Charger that I race here in Germany at the Nürburgring, Hockenheimring, and a couple other road courses around the area. If you own a Dodge Charger or any of these bigger cars, you kind of understand that the handling is not the best for what they are, and it's definitely a field that needs improvement. Well, that's exactly what I plan on doing, either with lowering springs or coilovers. The big thing is to figure out which one's going to be best for me and you. So let's go ahead and start talking about coilovers. So there's several brands out there that actually make coilovers for my specific vehicle. You got BC Racing, D2 Racing, K Sport, and ST Suspensions. You have a lot of different options. These are just the ones that I found and that I went with to put into this video. Pros and cons. Let's go over coilovers first, just because that's more than likely what I'm going to go with, and I can kind of incorporate lowering springs in the topic as well comparatively. So the pros for having coilovers are, one, they're going to be double adjustable. So not only can you adjust the ride height, but you can also adjust your dampening. So you can go from harder to softer. So for instance, if you're going for a track day, you're going to want to stiffen up your suspension. So you're going to want to change the dial, change the dampener, and adjust for a stiffer suspension. Whereas if you're on the road, you really don't want to be jumping around in, race car mode, which is really stiff. So you're going to want to turn the dial, the dampener, and make it very soft. So it's going to be more for the road. With lowering springs, you cannot do that. You're kind of stuck with what you got. There is no adjusting those at all. Pro number two, with being able to adjust them, the ride is going to be much smoother than the lowering springs, which if you're using it like I am, track and your daily driver, you kind of don't want to have it always in race car mode or stiff suspension. And the third pro, a big issue with coil springs is the fact that when you upgrade your spring or lower the vehicle, let's just say you drop it 2 to 2.5 inches, the rest of your suspension, your shocks are not prepared for that. They're not made to compensate for that 2-inch drop. So then you start running into wear and tear on the shocks themselves, bushings, camber, stuff that really does matter, and you're just going to start running through those parts. It's not going to be worth it, because by the time, yes, you're spending $300 on a coil spring, but by the time things start giving out, and let's just say you don't even like the ride height of the springs, you're going to have to replace that stuff. So it's easier just to do it all in one big cost, about $1,000, whereas if you're going to continually change springs and struts because everything's not working together. So that is a huge advantage of having coilovers, is the fact that not only is a spring on the coilover good to go, but the shock that comes with it. It's all one piece and they're meant to be together. So wear and tear is going to be all the same. As far as alignment, camber, and stuff like that, it's easy to adjust using the coilover as well, so you don't have to worry about the bushings getting worn out. However, there are cons to having coilovers. The biggest one is cost. They're not as cheap as lowering springs. You can find them anywhere between $700 for some really cheap ones to, $2,000, $3,000, depending on what you got, depending on the application and really how hardcore you're wanting to go. The second con with having coilovers is honestly trial and error, guys, because you don't know what this car is going to do. You don't know what the setup needs to be. You could put these coilovers on and it just not be aligned right. You could have the front up higher than what you want and the rear sagging down. You could have the front driver side coilover is too stiff and it's riding real rough. So it is going to be a trial and error experience trying to figure out what works good for you. I know I'm going to have to figure it out myself, especially on the track, and adjusting it from the track to the street, from the street to the track, so on and so forth. Other than that, I can't think of any other cons, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and start getting over into the lowering springs pros and cons. Pros, they are very good for a tight budget. I'm just like you guys. I'm just an everyday dude. I don't make a whole lot of money. Realistically, the only reason I'm splurging on coilovers as well because I just got my tax return, you know what I'm saying? Bang bang. So they're good for a budget, $300, you can drop the car. And when you drop a vehicle, it changes the entire look of the car, It makes it look more aggressive. It just looks really good when they're lowered, to be honest with you. Number 2 for the pros, and well, the only other pro in my book, is the fact that they're pretty easy to install. I've done a few lowering springs myself. Like I said, I have not always had a whole lot of money laying around. I just could do whatever, spend the money on coilovers. No, lowering springs sometimes work better for me and work in my price range. So that is going to be the 2 pros. As far as cons go, there's a few of them. The drop can vary, guys. So you could order a set of lowering springs and it could advertise 2 inches. Well, you could get those coil springs and you can install them. And when you first install them, they're going to be about 2 inches. And then once the car settles and starts to lower a little bit due to weight and heat and whatever, a couple different variables, it could be even lower than you're wanting. So let's just say 2 1/4, 2 1/2, whatever it may be. And you don't like it. Guess what you got to do? You got to order a new set. That's going to be another $300 and you're going to do all that work again. And by that time, after, doing the set plus the labor of actually doing it yourself, if you count that like I do. I put that into my time as money to me. You're right about what it would cost to just do some coilovers from the get-go. Number 2 for the con, they are not adjustable. Once they're in, that's what you got. If you got a 2 1/2 inch drop, you got a 2 1/2 inch drop. If you got to get over that bump down the road, you're screwed, guys. You're gonna rub the whole time. Coilovers, you can jack it up, adjust the ride height, and you're ready to go. You're good for city driving, especially here in Germany. I mean, these roads are like this thick. It's insane. Speed bumps everywhere. You're scraping on everything. Coming out of a parking garage, you're scraping the whole way. I couldn't imagine it. That's one of the reasons why I didn't bring my Trans Am, was because it's pretty damn low. And the third and most important con, I kind of talked about this in the coilover part, was the fact that when you drop a vehicle and your other parts are not ready for that and are not meant to be that low, stuff starts wearing and tearing. So I'm not going to hit too much on that because you've already heard me talk about it a second ago. Alright guys, so that is my spiel on the coilovers versus lowering springs. Either you agree with me or you don't, doesn't matter to me. However, everybody is different, so leave a comment down below. Let me know what you have, how you like it, what are your pros, what are your cons to the setup that you might have, because I am in the search for some coilovers myself. If you have BC Racings, please go down into the comments and let me know how you like them, because that's probably what I'll wind up going with. And I'm sure by the time some of you see this video, my car will already be lowered and ready for the track. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching, and check you later.